We want more Bryson. We want more Bryson. Everybody together. We want more Bryson.
We want more Bryson.
Fairway to Heaven. We're live talking the U.S. Open recap, plus this week's Travelers Championship, and actually a whole hell of a lot more. We're live in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome all to Fairway to Heaven, right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, you know the drill. Wherever you are watching, whatever you're doing, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, that follow button, whatever you're doing, get interactive, as we've got a lot, and I mean a lot of content to cover tonight as we get set to talk about the Travelers Championship. But first and foremost, we will have to talk a lot about the U.S. Open and some of the things that went on at the U.S. Open and some of the things that should follow up the U.S. Open. So make sure you guys do me that favor. Hit that like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet button wherever you are watching. I'm your host every single week right here on Fairway to Heaven, Phil Stiefel. My main man sitting below, Jason Sullivan. And join us again, the first time this year with a 3-time returning guest, Steve Fuentes. Soldier Steve. First we saw him, on trending in the AM with me this morning. Now we got him on Fairway to Heaven. It's almost like becoming a regular thing now with Steve. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well.
Doing great, man. It's like you said, what a week, man. We need more Bryson. I 100% agree with that. We need more Bryson. It's just awesome, too, that it was Bryson against Rory. I think that made it even better.
Absolutely. Steve, how much more Bryson do you want?
Every weekend. Every weekend that he wants to golf, it needs to be on TV. I mean, even his interactions with the fans, even on camera. I don't even care if it's fake. It is camera. It is must watch. It is everything. So, yeah, every week.
I think that's actually a funny little comment you said there. I did see some people not buying into the Bryson, fan interaction, calling him fake and a fugazi and whatnot on social media. I think it's 1,000% genuine. I really, truly think he has just matured as a person. He's grown up he's not the immature, childish person anymore. And he really, truly does love the interaction with people. You guys saw it. Like, what was it, the 9th or 10th hole? He's walking off. He stops to shake hands and autograph that kid's, hat and stuff. Like, You're trying to win a major. And here you are, first at the PGA Championship, stealing after that adult stole that ball from the kid. Now here stopping. Bryson, Jason, have you ever seen, I mean, you're a Detroit guy. Steve and I in Philly, we haven't seen anything like this. Do you remember ever in sports a personality turnaround quite like Bryson, where you go from one of the biggest villains to one of the biggest heroes of all time?
I have a Detroit version of it, Rasheed Wallace. Okay. I think that's my Detroit connection to it.
Okay, gotcha.
He was so hated, and then he got a little older and stopped with the technical fouls and everything. But no, he has coaches. I mean, I think it's legit. I think it's real. I really do. I think he is coached, I think, by his team to, be more involved in it. But I think you nailed it right on the head too by saying it's a maturity thing. He's not that same douchey Bryson that he was before, where it's like it was all about like, I'm going to hit it farther than everybody else. I'm going to break courses and stuff like this. He knows what he needs to do. He lost a little bit of the weight again, kind of backed off a little bit, and I think he loves being loved. And I think he's always wanted that, of like wanting the fans' support. And I think he's finally got it. He's like really into it. So I think it's real.
Yeah. I love how you just said douchey Bryson. I mean, seriously, I love it because, Jason, Steve, you might not know this, but since day one, I've been part of Team Bryson. I've been supporting this guy. During the Bryson and Brooks, I was the only one in the universe on Team Bryson. I feel like that's the case. And it's just so great and remarkable to see the turnaround. I mean, Adam's saying right off the bat that Bryson's the new face of the PGA. Unfortunately, he is not. And we've talked about this before, that we need a trade between LIV and the PGA, and we need Bryson back. And this is not just a cheesy thing to say. Bryson, I bet you when the ratings come out, and the real number, the detailed numbers, it'll be one of the higher rated viewerships of the final round of the U.S. Open in years. Probably one of the more higher rated PGA events of the last few years. And am I crazy, guys, to say it's because of Bryson?
I don't think you are. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, like, who would you trade for Bryson? Like, what would be a fair trade? Is there any, I'll rephrase it and say, is there anybody on the PGA Tour that you wouldn't trade for Bryson?
I would trade Scottie Scheffler like that for Bryson DeChambeau. To get to watch that personality every week, I would trade it like that. Steve?
I would trade Wyndham Clark on the Olympic team for him real quick.
Yes.
PGA, Olympic team, get him out of here. Like, bring in Bryson for Wyndham. That's my first.
Steve, I know I only saw the Olympic team being announced because I saw you shared it out on Twitter. And I don't know if you know, or if you don't, maybe Jason does. Who picks the USA golf team? Is it the USGA, the PGA Tour? Who's picking this? Because I've seen some LIV guys in other countries representing their countries. Who is the one that said, no, I don't want Bryson on Team USA?
For the U.S., it's World Golf Rankings. So
it's the World Golf Rankings?
Yeah, they go in order.
Yeah. Well, Bryson's in the top 10.
He's top 10. Wyndham's fourth, though. So
okay, so it's based off the world rankings. Okay, then that maybe makes sense. But honestly, they make an exception to get Webb Simpson in every single damn event this year. Can't they make an exception to get Bryson on Team USA? I mean, seriously. Like, I don't get it. Like, that Bryson is must-watch TV, Steve.
And the networks have to be able to see this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you see after late at night, I think it was on the Golf Channel, there was some known analyst, he actually replays it, and Bryson comes out, and the first shot he takes, it goes horribly, like, just hits it into the stands. Next shot, Bryson, coaches him up. He comes out, and he puts it closer than Bryson did on the 18th. I think it was 4 inches from the hole. Yeah. And Bryson was sitting there like, yeah, let's go. How can you not want more of that? Did he let everyone touch the cup?
Bryson's out there drinking beers out of it. Bryson's just having a damn good time, and it's so refreshing to watch. And I wish I hate LIV golf even more today than ever before because I can't watch Bryson.
That's 100% true. I mean, like you saw, he was living it up. Like Steve said, he's out there with, I think it was Johnson Wagner, wasn't it? That he was teaching how to chip it in there. He's out there in the neighborhood where he's renting the house, and he's running up and down the street with the trophy and going through the crowd with the trophy. Like, it was cool. It was refreshing. Honestly, that's probably the best way to put it, is that it was refreshing. Like, it hasn't been an exciting PGA Tour year. Scottie's been dominant. Xander's been awesome. We know that, but it hasn't really been a year that you're like, wow, that was awesome. This was the first event that I was really locked into. Like, this is a great event.
And you know what's awful about this is that Bryson winning and all this great Bryson publicity, I guarantee you, will not affect LIV ratings whatsoever. No. But if Bryson was still on the PGA Tour, people would be tuning in this week at the Travelers Championship to see him. Am I right, Steve?
Oh, 100%. It would be, excuse me, all over again, because with who we have in the field for this week, it's this almost identical, no cuts. So you're going to get 4 rounds of Bryson, and it would be all over again. Maybe not as many viewers, but just as big of, let's see what he does next week in a elevated, field and everything. So it's got to happen. They got to figure something out for next season.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk about the Travelers in the elevated field in a second, because I think they really screwed the pooch with all these elevated events before and after majors. We'll get to that. But there's 2 other great storylines coming out of, well, not great, 2 very discussable topics coming out of the U.S. Open as well. Obviously, with Bryson winning, that means he had to foil someone else's plans, and he really, really foiled Rory McIlroy. And I don't think you can blame Bryson for Rory's collapse. Rory just straight collapsed. and Jason, you've been very harsh on Rory at times this year and over the last couple of years of hosting this show with me. He's getting a lot of flack for not speaking to the media or waiting around to shake Bryson's hand like Bryson did to Xander. He's getting a lot of flack for withdrawing from this week's elevated events that he pushed to have be elevated and stuff like that. Thoughts on Rory's collapse and how he's handled it over the last 48, 62 hours?
It hasn't been good. He hasn't handled it well. I mean, you saw, like you said, he didn't say anything to him, which is fine. If you don't want to say anything to the guy in the time, that's fine. But like the way he peeled out of the parking lot, not talking to the media, I mean, like you can't blame anybody but yourself in this whole thing. And that's a good point too. Like you brought up, he pushed for these events, and this is the second one that he's missed. So they said, I don't know what the exact rules are, but like there's financial ramifications for missing these elevated events. You're allowed to miss one. This is the second one he's going to miss, and he said he's out until Scottish Open or whatever. But like, I have been hard on Rory, but I also love Rory. Like he's probably one of my top 2 favorite golfers in the world. I just feel like he's pissed right now, which rightfully so. You know, he does it, but it's been 10 years since he won a major. He's kind of becoming a choke artist, honestly. I mean, and the way you look at it now is like, is Rory a little bit? He's been good for so long, but is he overrated? I think that's the biggest question.
Wow. I mean, he is the second-ranked golfer in the world still at this point. Steve, I'm going to let you dive into this in a second, but I just want to comment on something Jason said. I think him skipping this week's event is much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Much more, I don't even know the right word. I'm okay with the way he handled not shaking hands, the way he peeled out of the parking lot. He was frustrated, mostly at himself, not at anybody else. I always feel in sports in general, when you lose a championship game, like, I would understand being upset. I wouldn't want to. I know you teach kids, and you both have children, you teach kids good sportsmanship and like that. But grown people, when they reach the pinnacle and they come that close, I get it that they're frustrated. So it never bothers me, when they do that. It bothers me when he pushes for these awful elevated events and then doesn't show up to them, withdraws because of it. So that's where I'm at. Like, I could care less that he didn't want to shake hands. I could care less that he peeled away. I could care less that he didn't want to speak to the media. You really want to talk to Amanda Balasonis after you just broke her heart? Come on. You know what I mean? I mean, she was out on a girl. She went out on a girl's trip.
She was in the Hamptons.
Yeah, she was in the Hamptons partying it up, in her little black dress. Not that I was looking or anything. Steve, to follow up, thoughts on Rory and how he handled Sunday, but also handled this week and stuff like that.
I'm never mad at when you lose in a title game or, in this instance, a major, and you don't shake hands. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody in those sort of moments. Like, I just lost in the way I just lost. He hadn't missed, 496 putts within, 3 feet?
It was 496 out of 496 at that distance.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't talk to me either. Like, but didn't he last year too withdraw from or not participate after his performance in the Masters? Didn't he come out of a few elevated events didn't he get fined last season for that too? I feel like, but it's a bad look. I saw a whole bunch of people talking about how, Phil did it and somebody else, I think it was Victor Perez or someone like that, did that as well in previous instances. As long as he comes out and says something here within probably by tomorrow, like, hey, I need to figure something out. That's why I'm not playing this week. I'm cool with it and all that. But it's a bad look to not come out and show I need to come out and win now sort of mentality when this is another elevated field. It just makes you kind of look like a little weak to me that he's
what
not
was the word
playing
you
this
used
week.
about Bryson early in his career? That's what Rory sounds like right now. A little douchey, right?
Well, he released a comment last night. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he basically said like this was the toughest tournament, like basically in my entire life. Like I'm like going through it mentally right now. And then he said,
and it's also because of what Adam said here.
Yeah.
I mean, he did file for divorce and then pull that back, 2 weeks later. His mind's in a pretzel right now.
And he's going to play in the Scottish Open in a few weeks, and then he's going to be arguably one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win the Open. So I understand why he's doing it a little bit too, but like you guys have both said, like just that he pushed so hard for these elevated events, and now he's going to be the first one to miss too. So,
I mean, and also I love Adam's on fire with the comments there. I mean, it is sometimes better. Like I didn't watch Game 5 of the NBA Finals last night, but if I was Luka Doncic and I left it all on the court and I just got smoked in the NBA Finals, I don't feel like shaking Jason Tatum's hand. And I don't know if he did or didn't, but it doesn't bother me like it bothers other people. But it bothers me because we have this god-awful elevated event this week that I don't want an elevated event. I don't want 70-person fields anymore. Like, I'm so over the elevated event. They could have done something. Like, and I hate to say this, if Rory's backing out of the events as much as he has last year and this year, like, the PGA Tour has to sit down and be like, yo, what the hell can we do here? These can't be 70-person fields anymore. We can't do these no-cut events anymore. Something's drastic going to have to change. On the placement, nobody wants to go through the grind of a U.S. Open and then do you think Scottie Scheffler really wants to play? I mean, he probably played his worst round of worst tournament of the last 3 or 4 years this weekend. Only made the cut because he backdoored it because the cut line 5 minutes before the cut line changed. Like, do you think he really wants to play this week? No, but he has to because it's an elevated event, and he already missed one because of the birth of his child. So, like, there's so much that goes into it that this year feel like the live starting changed so much on the PGA Tour. But I don't know if you guys agree. This year and the way this year's going, next year there's going to be so many more drastic changes to the way the PGA Tour schedule is and how it's managed and type of events and stuff like that. Do you guys agree to that?
I do. I think that's part of the problem too, though. I think you're right. There's going to be changes, but I think they don't have the right leadership in place. I think we've talked about that from the get-go, and it's like they're proving it left and right. And is it going to really be anything that shifts the momentum at all next year? I'm not confident that it's going to be, but I think you're right. It's like I think they're seeing now that these elevated events are not the way to go. But then now what? I don't know.
Now what do? You've backed yourself in a corner with these elevated events, and now you can't do it. And Steve, we mentioned Scottie Scheffler. I mean, we talked last week on this show, the three of us and Elise. Is it Scottie Scheffler or the world? Scottie Scheffler goes out there and probably puts forth the worst round imaginable. Like, did you, Steve, think there was even the remote chance that Scottie Scheffler wouldn't crack the top 10, the top 5? I mean, he didn't even. I think he finished in 42nd place when it all. Yeah, something like that when it all was said and done. But again, that was just a backdoor thing too. What did I read? He only made 4 birdies the entire tournament. Like, Steve, was that even remotely close what you thought would happen?
I thought at worst he's top 20, 18, 19, 20 worst. But for it was almost like, wow, okay, he's human. Like, this is what it's going to take. But I started looking back at previous courses where everything was firm and fast like this. And he's not very good when it's firm and fast like this, like it was this past weekend. And it almost, the putter, the way that he was, that it looked like last season when he was relying on his irons to get him close enough that it was like almost impossible to miss a putt. But it was pretty bad. And everyone played bad though. So I'm not really, for this week, I'm not going to take any thought of what and how he played this week.
Jason, follow up there. Anything on Scottie Scheffler's performance last week?
I think the biggest thing, like Steve said, was the putting. I think he looked like the old Scottie again. And I think it was Andy Lack's podcast. They were talking about it last week, and they were saying, like, basically, are we sure Scottie's a good putter now, or has he just been putting better for the last 5-6 events? And, like, it kind of showed, like, he's still the same putter. He's still the same crappy putter. And this course, he just couldn't do what he normally does tee to green. I think he still gained 7 strokes tee to green, which is still amazing. But he's not gaining 20 or whatever like a normal event because of the amount of long iron shots. I mean, it's pretty hard to be dominant when you're hitting, your irons in from 200 plus every single time. It's like that's not where he's going to separate. He's going to separate off the tee and around the green. He just didn't. The course wasn't suited for that. And I think we saw if he putted even okay, he would have finished higher, but he putted, like the old Scottie again. So it's concerning, I think, especially we've seen him win at the beginning of the year so often that what does he do the rest of the year now? Which putter do you have? I think that's the biggest one.
Well, and you talk about, Steve mentions how like everybody played bad. I don't think everybody played bad. I just think the course was set up to be what a true U.S. Open test is, which is the most difficult tournament to win of the year. Did you guys, and I'll start with Jason, and you can answer, Steve, like, did you enjoy how difficult that course played? Like, I mean, it tested every aspect of every player's game, like flat out across the board, right?
I loved it. I personally, like, especially lately when you see so many events that, like, they're like, oh, yeah, it's this so-and-so is going to be like, Valhalla is going to be tough, and it turns out to be like a birdie fest. It's like, I like the tough courses. So I was all for it. I thought the only thing I didn't like, and then you guys can kind of speak on this too, is that I felt like if you barely missed off the tee, you were in more trouble than if you missed by 30 yards off the tee. You know what I mean? Like that's my only complaint, is that it was tougher. Like you saw Bryson and Rory both down the stretch, like had these horrible lies for barely missing the fairway. Like the one that Bryson was underneath, like the tree for
tree branch was the tree root was right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I wish it was.
I mean, it was so difficult. I don't remember what it was. I remember watching on Sunday, and at some point on Sunday, he was 4 of 14 fairways or 4 of 13 fairways, and he still went on to win the event. So it just proved, Steve, that it was an all-around game, had to be in perfect form to have a chance, right, Steve? Did you enjoy the course, Steve?
I did. I like when it's tough like this for these pros, these superstars in this game, to be able to really show their skill set. And so the one thing that I hated, though, was when some of those incredible, I forget which hole it was, but Hubbard did it a few times. I think Xander fell trap of it, but they had some great shots that landed like 3 inches from the hole, and any sort of backspin. And they didn't want to put any sort of backspin on any of those shots this weekend. And it's 30 yards going back down the hill. And but that's what made it interesting, because then how much they can go back up and down and save par and stuff. So I love when it's stuff like that.
Wasn't it Straka that he actually hit the flagstick and then he triple bogeyed? Like, it's brutal. But
and then he came back with an ace.
There's a difference between a course playing hard because it's gimmicky, and there's a difference between a course playing like last week at Pinehurst, where it's just a strong test. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. And we've seen some tough courses where we just haven't enjoyed them, Jason, because they were just, I hate to use the word gimmicky, but gimmicky maybe, where they purposely do certain things to just trick golfers. Like, that was just a stern test, and that's what you want every week, right?
And that's almost like, I don't want to say this because I'm probably going to catch flack for this, but like Sawgrass is almost like that sometimes. Like, if the wind at Sawgrass picks up, it just becomes like a disaster. And like, you didn't see that. The weather didn't affect anything this past week, but it was just like, it was truly the test, like you said, truly the test of who's the best golfer. Your all-around game had to be on. Bryson's biggest strength was off on Sunday badly, but he was good around the green. He was good. His approach game was awesome. I mean, like he putted okay. It's like I feel like events like the U.S. Open, even like sometimes like the Masters and stuff, it's like the harder they play, the better it kind of weeds out who's the best golfer, and that's what I like to see.
Why the best players win the majors, right? Yeah. With that being said, we're going to talk about, because this week, River Highlands could be the complete opposite. Could be a little bit of a bomb and gouge kind of an event. But before we do that, I want to pay some bills here, guys. If you're looking for tickets to a sporting event, a concert, theater, wherever, check out our friends SherryTickets.com. They're easy to use and they have no hidden fees. You go to those other ticket resellers, you buy a $50 ticket, it turns into $200. Not at SherryTickets.com. No hidden fees whatsoever. The price you see is the price you pay. Use promo code EOP10 at checkout. It gets you an extra 10% off. If you need a more personal touch, give them a call, 610-494-5050. Just make sure you let them know EOP and Fairway to Heaven sent you. Again, remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. SherryTickets.com, promo code EOP10. And, of course, PhillySportsTrips.com. If you want to travel to see your favorite team, or if you want to go to a premier tailgating experience, go to PhillySportsTrips.com, sign up, let them know EOP, Fairway to Heaven, sent you. They've got some great trips coming up Great tailgates, obviously, to see our Eagles face the Packers in Brazil. They got a great tailgate for Italian-American night at Citizens Bank Park with the Phillies. They're already taking Jason, you want to go see the Phillies spring training with me? Clearwater, Florida, right here. They're accepting their deposits.
Favorite
They
spot in the
even
whole
got
world.
a package to go see the Philadelphia Union in Miami, in September, guys. Lots of great things. Obviously, all the great Eagles trips coming up throughout the season, guys. PhillySportsTrips.com. Sign up. Let them know. EOP, Fairway to Heaven, to send you. There's two of them right there. And let's get into this week, the Travelers Championship, which, again, because, as we've said, an overrated, elevated event again, we've got another deep field. And I know the first thing Jason's going to want to say is they mispriced the top of the board and they mispriced the bottom of the board because Scottie is only, 12-1, and there's no 5K range, or 12-5, and there's no 5K range. So it's too easy, again, to play or not to play Scottie Scheffler. It's in Connecticut, TPC River Highlands, one of the shortest courses on tour, just over 6,800 yard, par 70, Pete Dye course. Normally, you would think of this as a positional course, but we've seen over the last couple of years some bombing and gouging of this course happening. So, Jason, we'll start with you for this course preview. Tell us about TPC River Highlands and what you expect from which is going to be a very electric crowd in Connecticut this weekend.
Yeah, it's always a great tournament. I mean, from all accounts, it's always one of the best run tournaments of the year. You're literally seeing the exact opposite of what you saw last week, like in terms of the course, like 6,800 yards, par 70, no cut event. So I feel like there's like you said, they try to make it like a placement course, but it's a bomb and gouge course. I mean, you're going to see the big boys still bomb and gouge this place. They made it tougher allegedly, but I'm not so convinced on it. 14th easiest hole or easiest course on the tour. Shortest set of par fours and shortest set of par fives that you're going to see all year. So almost completely opposite of what you're going to see, what you saw last week. So definitely a different kind of test for sure.
Steve, what do you think it goes through a golfer's mindset when they go, because they're outside of Rory, all the guys are here this week, just like last week, mentally preparing yourself, going from a 7,500, almost 7,600 yard par 70 that is going to test everything to a 6,800 yard par 70, like Jason says, some of the shortest holes and shortest courses on tour. Mentally, that's got to be kind of tricky, right?
I think if it was reversed, I think if they were going from a course like what they're going to play this weekend and then going to play Pinehurst, it would be a little tricky. But I almost feel like because it's so short, it's almost like, okay, let's try and fix the things that we clearly need work on from last week. Or was it just last week and how tough the course was playing? And some of these guys who have been playing well, who either missed the cut or were, bottom, like someone like Scottie, where now he can get back onto a course where it's short, where he's going to be able to get eagles, and we're really going to see how bad or how good the putter really truly is on a course like this, where the greens are small. I think the greens are going to be super tiny on this course like they were last year and in previous years. So it's going to be an irons game. Who's going to be who's hitting their irons well and driving accuracy, because you're going to be able to bomb it like Jason was saying. So
all right, so obviously the top of the board, there were four guys. Now with Rory out, there's three guys over 10K. Obviously, Scottie's the top dog at 12.5. Xander's at 11.2, who had another great showing in a major. I was a little concerned he would dip off after his PGA win, but I hit my top 10 bet on him last week. And then obviously Ludwig Aubert, who had another good showing this past week at the U.S. Open. They're your three elite guys. And I just want to stay locked in on Scottie here for a second, Jason. Do you think Scottie's performance will change people's minds on how to use him this week? He's the third projected highest owned guy right now on Fantasy National. I expect it to jump up. But last week, most contests, he was 40, 45, 46% owned. How do you think his performance at the U.S. Open will affect his ownership and how players or how DFS players should consider or not consider using him this week?
I think it's going to affect the ownership for sure. I don't know if it should. I mean, the only thing I worry about this week is that this is another course I feel like where his strengths aren't really magnified at this course. You know what I mean? Like because of how short it is and because it might be a putting contest, like he might be, I don't want to say in trouble because I still expect top 10, top 15 from him. But for me, it's a fade because of like what I said, if this turns into a short game and putting contest, I don't know how you could play him. I think actually this week, my strategy is going to be to do more of a balanced lineup. So I'm going to be skipping the higher rank, well, I guess only Scottie, really, to be honest with you, because I'm playing Xander. So, but I think I'm starting at Scottie this week. I think just makes it too tough to build a solid lineup again.
Steve, thoughts on how Scottie in a DFS aspect should translate after his, I guess you could say, weaker performance? Because a lot of golfers would have loved to finish 41st last week at the U.S. Open and didn't. So, I mean, we're picking needles here. You're like, what I mean? But thoughts on how that changes your strategy?
The way I'm going to play, I'm going to fade him this weekend just because I feel like everyone's going to be back on board with him. Like last week was nothing because he finished 19 under. He finished tied for fourth last year at this course. And that's when his putter wasn't the way it was this year. So the way that I'm going to go about it, though, like I'm going to go balance as well, like Jason said. I just think with this being a no cut, you're going to get 4 rounds out of guys. And there's guys mispriced in the 6K. Scottie's not priced right. So you're going to be able to play with a lot of different lineups and avoiding Scottie and have a more balanced lineup this week.
I think that's fair. I think actually different than you guys. I'm probably fading the entire top 10K and above range. I'm not going to play Xander or Ober. If I was going to play any of them, I would consider playing Scottie, thinking that the casuals might, he only finished 42nd last week or 41st. Maybe the casuals help bring his ownership down a little bit. I don't know. I'm trying to find a reason to squeeze him in a lineup or two. But on the flip side, I kind of feel like because it's an elevated event, because it's the weekend, I kind of feel like you could fade all 3 of those top guys. I really do. And I think Rory's withdrawing will affect massively the ownership of the other 3 guys up there. And, I know Scottie's what, 22, 23% right now. I don't expect him to get to 40, but I still think he could get to 30% ownership this week.
I think so too. I think people are going to I don't know. I don't want to say like really overreact, but I feel like that is in people's head. Like, I mean, for the reasons we just touched on, like we saw his putter fall apart. So I feel like that is going to play on it, but like, don't get it twisted in any way. He could easily win by 5 this week. Like he's still the best player in this field. It's just a matter of how confident you feel. And like Steve said, like there's not a lot of guys in the 6K range that I feel like can put it together. So like a lot of my lineups, I'm trying not to dip below like 7,200 just because I want win equity.
Right. So then below that in the 9K range, you've got again, of course, obviously, a stacked field. Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, who came out of left field to have a great U.S. Open. Victor Hovland, Hideki, Fleetwood, who's Mr. Pete Dye course himself, and Sam Burns. I almost want to fade this entire range as well, except for one name. And I don't know if you guys can guess what that name is, but I'll just say it. I might start with the highest priced guy in my player pool at the bottom of the 9K range at Sam Burns. Like I kind of feel like Sam Burns. I mean, he's my pick to win this event. Like he's been playing really good golf outside of the 1 week where he had a baby and he missed the cut. The last 5-6 weeks he's been really good. I think Sam Burns can win this event, and that might be. And I haven't decided fully yet. That might be where my lineups start, which then gives me the ability to not dip low into the 7s, or I could build a lineup full of 8 and 9K guys if I start with Sam Burns. Do you think that's a smart strategy, Steve?
Yeah, I've been reading and seeing a lot of people are doing the same thing, that they were really impressed with how he performed at a major, where in the past majors where he either got cut or he just didn't show up at all. So he gained like 1.78 in his putting, and then on his approach game, not so much, but his around the green, everything. He really played well, and he played well at the Memorial too. And one of the first shows I was on with you, sometimes you guys are saying, sometimes that baby that dad strength and what it can do to you can change some of these guys and how they play. So I think that's kind of like the case here. So
Yep.
I'm with you with Sam Burns. I think he's going to have
let's
a
just
good
go
week.
through. So he had the May 12th, the Wells Fargo 13th. Then obviously he missed the cut at the PGA Championship. Then 10th at the RBC, 15th at the Memorial, 9th at the U.S. Open. That's 4 of the last 5 events. He's finished between 9th and 15th place. I mean, how his ownership is only right now sitting at 16, I don't know. I expect it to jump a little bit more. But Jason, thoughts on Burns, but also the rest of this 9K range. Do you think there's a better option in that 9K range than Sam Burns?
I love Burns first and foremost, but I don't like him as your first option in a lineup.
Okay.
I like him as your second option in the lineup.
Okay.
I even made lineups where I did 3 9K guys. So I have a lineup, for example, that I did Cantlay, Hovland, and Burns, and it was able to like still feel pretty comfortable about it. I just don't think your win equity would be high enough if you started with Burns. I think that's the biggest thing. But I think my favorite, I like Burns a lot. He's my second favorite in this range, but my favorite in this range is Cantlay. I don't want to overreact for 1 week. However, this feels like the kind of course where he wins. Like it's going to be relative. I don't want to say birdie fest, but it could be a birdie fest. And it's bent. We're back on bent grass again. Like if he's good off the tee, I think he can easily win this week. So Cantlay is my favorite. Burns is definitely my second favorite, though.
You know, are we over? Steve, I want to touch on what Jason said. Are we going to overreact? Are people going to overreact to Patrick Cantlay? Because one great event to me doesn't solve a season-long problem.
No, but I am not a Patrick Cantlay guy at all. I never play him ever. But when he is on, he is easily one of the top 5 golfers in the world when he is on, and he is on right now. He in this field, he ranks 8th in strokes gain, tee to green, 6th in strokes gained approach, 9th in greens in regulation, 10th in strokes. So, and he's finished top 15 in the last 6 times that he's played this course. So it's a course he loves. And to me, course history is huge for me this week, just because of how long this course has been played for the Traveler. So he's going to be the chalky play, but I'm going to play him no matter what. That's probably where I'm starting.
There is a lot of talk
lineups.
that course history does matter this weekend. Yes, over the last 5 years, no one has gained more strokes gained total over the last 5 years than Patrick Cantlay. Over the last 5 years, he's gained over 40 strokes to the field in this event. 4th, 13th, 13th, 11th, 15th, the last 5 years. So if there's any reason to say, it was a blip on the radar last week, this week is a perfect way for him to follow it up and continue to build momentum. Because Patrick Cantlay is still one of the best golfers in the world, right, Jason?
For sure. I think for me too, it was like last week was less of like a wow, he's back, and more of just he finally showed something. Like his irons were a lot better. His iron game has been crap this year. So the fact that you're going on a course that, like for me, it's more course fit. That like he's obviously done well here, but like on bent grass, when the score's not going to be super tight, like when there's going to be a lot of scoring, I feel like this is the kind of course where he wins. So it's more of the course fit and less of what he did last week. Although it was nice to see him come back to life a little bit.
So talking about course fit and course history versus how a golfer's played lately, just above Cantlay is Morikawa. So I've debated about Morikawa and Cantlay this week. Cantlay's got the course history. Morikawa, on the flip side, the last 2 times he's played this event, he's missed the cut. And the only other time before that, he had a 36th place finish. But Cantlay has had a 14th, 2nd, 4th, 16th, 9th, 3rd. I mean, top 10s, top 15s in majors. I mean, Collin Morikawa has played phenomenally this year, just without the win. So how do you grade guys' course history on a course like this, which in theory, it should be an easy course? It's got defense on it, but it's an easier course versus the recent form. Like I'm really torn on those 2 names, on who's the right one and who's the wrong one.
Go ahead.
I think for this week with no cuts, you don't have to worry about course history. I think it's big for guys who are playing this and where you're going to be picking, for DFS purposes. But I think for betting purposes, with no cuts, you're going to get 4 rounds from guys. So if you want for betting, Morikawa, probably just the way he's been playing, he's due for a win, with all the finishes that he's had. So he's probably that next person. If the golf gods are looking down on him this weekend, that he should be that next person in line for a win this year.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so dipping into the 8K, and Jason, you mentioned where Sam Burns can't be your 1A, he could be your 2 in your lineup. I'm looking at Sam Burns as my top guy because I love Sam Burns at 9, then Tony Finau at 89, and Sahith Theegala at 88. I could probably build a lot of high-quality lineups with all 3 of those names in it. So into the 8K range, where are you looking? And do you think if my strategy of using Burns includes pairing him with sometimes both Finau and Theegala, is that a terrible strategy?
No, I think that's good because that gives you the win equity too. Finau is actually my favorite in this range. I just love the way he's been ball striking lately. His putter, I don't want to say it's coming back to life because it's still terrible, but it's as long as he's not the worst putter in the field, like his ball striking is so good. So I like Finau as my favorite in this range. Corey Connors is my other one. Like he just kind of flies under the radar, and I feel like there's going to be so much ownership in this range that go to Harman and Henley, which rightfully so by all means. But I just feel like Connors is a guy that I could see top 10ing this week, and he's actually have a top 10 bet on him and an outright bet on him this week. So I think Connors is Finau's my favorite, and Connors is my second favorite in this range.
What do you think, Steve, of this 8K range? Where are your eyes going when you see this range?
I'm with Jason with the Finau. He's just playing so great that this course, besides the putting, the way he's been playing, how well he played this last week, for sure. But Russell Henley, I think he's probably going to be the most chalkiest from this, but he was great last week. He's always a great putter, and on short courses like this, where the driver doesn't really, it's not as important. So when you have a putter like Henley, I think he's someone who a lot of people are going to go to in the 8K range. And then, like Jason said, Brian Harman, another short course specialist.
We talk about how some guys have kind of gotten themselves back on track. What about somebody like Tom Kim, who he hasn't been world on fire back on par, but he's got a couple top 25, 26s, and a top 5 at the RBC over his last month and a half of playing. I keep going back to Tom Kim as well in this range, guys.
And I think a lot of people are going to. He makes sense. Like he's in my player pool this week, but I'm not as pumped about him, I think, as than everybody else is. And there's a couple of reasons. I think first off, his putter has not been good for the past few weeks. Like he's been off and on a little bit, but like 2 weeks ago, he lost 5 strokes on the greens. Like that concerns me a little bit in a week like this. And also, I was looking back at his numbers. He's played 7 weeks in a row right now. This will be the 8th week in a row. That's a lot of golf. I mean, I know he's young, but that's a lot of golf.
That's a lot of golf for us old people, but for young people, it's a lot of golf for them as well. Okay, so dipping into the 7K range. Again, still lots of great names: Sepp Straka, Sung Jae Im, Max Homa. Man, I did not think I'd ever see a day where Max Homa was back into the 7K range, but here we are. Wyndham Clark back into the 7K range as well. Lots of good names. I want to start at the top with Sung Jae Im. He was a guy I really liked a lot last week, and obviously he missed the cut. He putted like crap. He was just terrible last week around the greens. If you take out his 3 missed cuts at the majors, Masters, PGA, and U.S. Open, his other 4 finishes around that are 8th, 9th, 4th, and 12th. Maybe it's just a case where he's just not back to major form yet. Sung Jae Im and some of these guys in the 7K range, some really good golfers, there's not much ownership. I mean, Sung Jae Im's right now sub 10%. Where are you guys looking? Jason, we can start with you in this 7K range with some of the names you like.
This range was tough for me. I'm not going to lie. So I was Sanjay. I looked at Sanjay too, but I don't know. I'm not sold on him. I struggled in this upper range for sure. I didn't really know where to go. I'm going to be playing Adam Scott. Definitely not going to be playing Clark at all. I don't know if you guys, I heard this on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates today, that there is no course on tour where Wyndham Clark is worse with his irons than at TPC River Highlands. So that's a definite no. Like, and same thing, you brought up Max Homa as the other one. Like, it's shocking to see those two guys in there, but arguably Max Homa has the worst course history here of anyone in the field. So he's definitely a no-go for me too, which is it's just weird that it's really come to this point. So I struggle in this top part of the range. I think Adam Scott's the only one that I'm like super pumped about. Betty Ann's the other one that I'm going to play a little bit.
Steve, thoughts in this 7K range here?
Again, I'm with Jason with Adam Scott. I just think that this course fits him really, really well. He's made 13 out of 15 cuts, 3 top 10s. I think he's a good pivot. I'm not sure what his ownership is, but the other good pivot is I think Max Homa. I don't think you're ever going to see him at this price at 7-8 again. And I know he's not playing well, but yeah, I was like, holy hell. And I know he's not playing that well, but again, no cut. You know you're going to get 4 rounds out of him. He was cut last week, and I like those guys. I said on the first show that I was with you guys, I like those guys sometimes when they miss a cut and the week after when they've been able to work on and have those 2 extra days. So I think those 2 names, Homa and Adam Scott, in the 7K range.
I'm going to throw 2 other names that I'm looking at that I like a lot this week. One's in the mid 7, one's in the low 7. So I think because I'm playing less lineups and Steve, me and Jason have been not battling, but discussing changing my strategy. So I've had a bad year, and about 2 weeks ago I changed my strategy. Yeah. It was okay, but then last week I stuck to that new strategy, and I had probably my best finish ever in a non-showdown event. Finished 14th in a GPP, had a really good run. Was in 5th place for a little while there on Sunday. So I'm playing less lineups now. I'm doing 3 max and single entries. That's it right now. So I can keep a tighter player pool. So there's only going to be 3 names I play in the 7K range completely. It's going to be Sung Jae Im. It's going to be Siwoo Kim, who has played really well, underratedly well this year. And it's going to be Akshay Bhatia this week because I think he's got the creativity to cut corners on a short course like this. And he's a guy that I know I bet him. I made a very tiny bet on him, 80-1. I don't know if he can win twice in one season yet, but I do like Akshay Bhatia as well. So, Jason and Steve, thoughts on Siwoo Kim and Bhatia as my other 2 targets in this range?
Siwoo Kim, I'm definitely off because of his course history. I think I want to say he has one good event or one good finish here. Yeah, T11.
Yeah, it was 2020, finished in 11th place. He's missed the cut 4 other times here. But Siwoo Kim this year is playing a little differently.
Also, he's a P-dot guy, so you wouldn't think that would be the case. It's weird to me. Sanjay's okay to me, but I think Bhatia is my favorite one. And I think it's because of his fit. Again, with short courses. I mean, he's 15th in approach on short courses. The two ranges that I'm looking at in my model, 150 to 175, he's 7th. And then 200 plus, he's 14th. So, I mean, I feel like it's perfect for those par 3s with the 200 plus. I just feel like he's underpriced, I feel like, this week. So Bhatia is definitely one of my favorite plays on the entire board, I think, because of his ownership too. I think 10% the last time I saw, which in a 70-person event, that's pretty low.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, really quickly, rapid fire, because we still got lineups to build. We still got one and dones to do and some more ad reads. 6K range. Steve, give me 2 names you're targeted in the 6K range and why.
Lucas Glover. I just think on short courses, he's great. And then again, no cut. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, probably like a top 20 sort of deal. And then I always go with my guy, Putnam. I think he's got good course history here and the putter. And I know he's not playing well, but again, no cut. You're going to get 4 rounds out of him. And if you want Scottie, he's a good person to go to in the 6K range.
Gotcha. Jason, in this range.
Chris Kirk, it's more of a course fit thing from front on him. He hasn't been the best lately, but I think his course fit's really good. And then Emiliano Grillo, I mean, 2nd in the field in birdie or betters on short courses, 1st in proximity from 150 to 175, and 6th in DK points. So Grillo and Kirk for me.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some other names, guys, that I like. I love Grillo, and I love Glover as well. I like Adam Svensson this week. He does have one really good finish here. I forget who I was listening to, but they said if you don't have a top 30 in your career at this course, don't play him. Svensson did finish 25th 2 trips here ago before. And a name he's never played here. He's been really bad lately, but he was fantastic at the U.S. Open last week, and that's Pavon. And I would love to get your guys' thoughts on Pavon because, again, just like Cantlay, he kind of like Pavon had a really good run early in the season. Then he kind of just hit that rookie wall and kind of crashed and burned for a while. but then boom, popped up on a super difficult course, performed phenomenally last week. What are you guys' thoughts on Pavon?
He's popped in flashes. I mean, you're dead right. I think the biggest concern with a guy like him is that like he was in contention for a major for the first time ever. Like, how do you bounce back from that? Like, are you just as amped up this week as you were last week? So I'm not going to play him, but I could see the argument for sure.
I don't think I'm playing him. I just want when I'm looking at because you guys named the names I liked, I wanted to throw one more question mark out there. I don't know. I'm intrigued on how he rebounded after that. He great start of the season, terrible middle, and then all of a sudden pulled it back forward. I kind of like that redemption to an extent. Steve?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be a lot of the guy who people reach for in the 6K just because of how well he played this last week. And I also like his gamesmanship on that last hole, how he didn't putt and did let Bryson have that last moment, how, and have the read.
Yeah, no, you know what? I love it too. It was I was Father's Day dinner, and my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and I were watching it, and they don't watch as much golf as I do, and they both picked up on that as well. When two people that love golf but don't watch it pick up on that moment, you're like, yeah, he definitely did something there. So I actually, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve.
It was so funny. I don't know if you guys saw too so Bryson wins and they're in that room. Him and Pavon are in that room, and Bryson gets a water out and he gives Pavon a water too. And then Bryson walks out of the room. Pavon puts the water back and grabs a Coke. I'm like, that's my dude right there. He's like, I didn't
even see that part of it, but that's good to know. Guys, two more ads I want to read real quick. If you're like Rory and you're going through some tough times, you might need to call our friend David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm. He is the premier lawyer in the state of Pennsylvania. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, criminal law, whatever you need, give him a call, 610-565-0300, cherryinjurylaw.com. Let him know. Fairway to Heaven and EOP is where you heard about him. Again, it's David R. Cherry, 610-565-0300, cherryinjurylaw.com. And, of course, if you need a place to watch this week's Travelers Championship, go ahead down to Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, 24 East Sellers Avenue. Check out PJ and the crew there. For 65 years plus, they have been cranking it out in Ridley Park. Great food, great times. DolansBar.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can find them on all social media platforms, DolansBar.com. And, guys, it's that time. So Jason only invited – normally I get to invite Steve. Jason invited Steve personally because Steve broke the guest curse and actually won our head-to-head battle last week at picking lineups. It's only the third time a guest has beaten Jason or I all year long. So we had to have Steve back for this little shindig for this reason here. Steve, you're the winner. Jason, you read off the rules. Who's picking where and when and how we're doing this?
Yep. So I had the worst lineup of the three of us for the week. So I will be deciding where I pick first, which is going to be third.
We're going third. So you're taking the back end of the snake draft.
Will's going to pick second where he's going.
Okay. I am going to take the number one overall pick.
So, Steve, you are picking second, my friend.
Nice. All right. Steve's picking second. I'm writing it down so I don't mess it up like last week on whose turn it is. So I'm first. Steve's second. Jason is third. So I am just going to jump the gun with my first pick and take my favorite player, even though you guys said it's not a 1A, Jason. I'm just going to take Sam Burns right off the bat here.
First of all, you act like I hate the guy. He's in my player.
You hate him. You actually told me you hope he never finishes in the top 50 ever again. You hate the guy. You hope his wife leads him. His kid has to go in foster care. You told me he's the worst person in the world.
Listen, he's in 7 of my lineups, and I'm going to outright at him. So, yeah, not true.
All right, so I started with Sam Burns. Steve, you're up second.
I'm going to start with Cantlay.
Sniped them right off the bat there.
Big time.
Yeah. Jason,
holy crap.
Up for two, Jason.
I'm going to go hold on. Cantlay. All right, I'm going to go with Botella. Is going to be my first pick.
Hey, yeah, that's a good choice. I would have taken him at some point if you did not.
And then my
so Botella with your first pick.
Yeah, my second pick, I'm going to go Finau.
Gotcha. All right. Steve, back on the board with pick number 2 for you.
Yeah, Finau. See, you took my second one, so okay, I see what you're doing here.
I'll trade you
Okay.
Finau.
There's a thing. The problem with the shorter
yeah.
field, smaller field, there's a lot less players to choose from here as well.
Yep. Give me Brian Harmon.
Brian Harmon. All right. So I'm up for 2. You already took Batea, so I'm going to go Siwoo Kim as pick 1, and I'm going to go with Svensson as pick 2 for me. Kim and Svensson.
Give me JT Poston.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Justin Thomas.
No.
Ooh, I actually do
Never.
like this week, believe it or not.
Never.
Do you? Why
Yeah.
would you like him this week? I'm curious.
Because so he finished 9th here last year with almost identical form coming in. He was in crap form last year. I just really like him on short courses, so that's why that's gonna be my sneaky play of the week.
Okay. I'm just curious. I wanted some detailed information on that one.
I'm gonna go with the young gun. I'm gonna go Aubert, my first pick,
Mm.
and then I'm gonna go with Emiliano Grillo as my second pick.
Gotcha. Grillo would have been one of my plays, but we're going to take that off my list right now. Real quick, Steve, before you go, Aubert. I mean, hell of a rookie year so far. Out of all the young guns that have climbed up the pecking order of the PGA Tour, is there anybody you're more confident in that will win a major soon in the next year or two than Aubert?
No, it's got to be him.
Is he the best young player on the PGA Tour?
And it's consistent. How his skill set, it shows on every single course, even his weaknesses. And now we're starting to see him because he only got his full card, around this time last year, I feel like. So now we're starting to see him on courses that he's actually been able to play before. So now he's going to have a little bit of course history, and he played well last year at this point too. So the consistency for me is what I love about him.
I think that's a good point too. I think he's course proof. Like he's good on short courses, he's good on long courses. Like it doesn't really matter. Tough, easy, like he's good on everything. His one weakness is around the green, and I think he'll get better at that. So I mean, he's a stud for sure.
I just wanted to point that out and just give him the credit he deserves and stuff like that. Steve, you're up now.
Adam Scott. Give me Adam
Scott. All right. So I'm up for 2. So far I've taken Burns, Kim, Svensson, and I'm going to go with Colin Morikawa and Corey Connors.
Oh, Corey Connors snipe.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, in this field, we're all sniping each other because this field, and we're all on the same guys.
Dang. Okay. Nicely done. Okay, give me I hate taking him, but I think he's gonna play good. Give me Benny on.
It's
so funny because I have literally the same exact thoughts that you have on that one. I'm like, I hate that he's in my player pool, but give me a lot of Benny on.
Yep.
I hate buying him.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Final 2 picks for Jason.
Bounce back player of the week. I'm gonna go Victor Hovland. Too good. The course did not fit him last week. I mean, he's
not at all
around the greens when it's like long rough, and there was not long rough last week, and he's not a good putter. So I like Hovland to bounce back, and then I'm gonna go with Tom Kim as my 6th.
All right, so Tom Kim. So Jason's lineup this week is Batea, Finau, Aubert, Grillo, Hovland, and Tom Kim. Is that right?
Yes.
That's a pretty damn fantastic lineup. I won't lie. Outside of Hovland, I don't know if Hovland bounces back quite like you. But if there's ever a course where he can cut corners, this is the week that he can cut corners and get creative.
I just like him. I don't think he can anchor a lineup, almost like Burns a little bit. Only I like him even less. But I feel like if he's your number 2, you're in good shape. I think.
I like that. I like that a lot. Steve, your last pick on your lineup right now, you've got Patrick Cantlay, Brian Harmon, JT Poston, not Justin Thomas, Adam Scott, and Benny on. So who's your last guy in your lineup?
Give me Hideki. I just think when he's on, you play him.
Until he withdraws at the last second or after lineup's locked because of a bad back.
It terrifies me because I had him
or something like that.
I was thinking that too, but he's already withdrawn. He's already not played in one elevated event too, so he's not going to take the penalty of not playing in two.
Well, he could get DQ'd. Last year, what was the event he got DQ'd in? I had him in like 15 to 20 lineups, and he gets DQ'd for some reason. I don't even remember what it was. Like, I can never play Decky ever again.
He's the scariest person to play in DFS because you just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know. All right, with my last pick, I've got 8,900 left on the board. So I'm going to go with Sahith Theegala. So my lineup's Burns, Kim, Siwoo Kim, Adam Svensson, Colin Morikawa, Corey Connors, and Gala. Yeah, there's three really solid lineups there that we just built, guys.
I like it. Should we do one and done?
Yeah, let's do our one and dones. And again, Steve, next year maybe we'll get you in from the get-go, and you could be involved in our little buy a beer one and dones with us.
Not a beer. Not a beer.
Not a beer. Steve will buy us beers. We'll buy Steve something else. Hold on, let me take an extra sip for you here, Steve.
Oh, geez. It is.
Garage
I can
beer.
smell it from here. It smells amazing.
Let me tell you something, guys. I did you guys a free promo on TikTok and Twitter with Garage Beer. You liked it, Garage Beer, but you didn't send me any free merch or anything like that. So I'm a little disappointed that I'm giving you a free plug, and the Kelsey boys are not picking up on it.
Listen,
it's a little disappointing right
just
there.
Like Boston and the boys, no free shout-outs except for that.
I know. No free shout-outs, okay? I'm done with the free shout-outs, okay? Jason, what were the one and dones from last week, and how did we do? I know I made up ground, but not much.
You took Brooks, and I took Hovland. Hovland did not make the cut, so you gained 123,000. I'm still up by
still like $3 billion behind you right now.
2.8 million higher.
Yeah. So. All right, so I got to pick a winner this week, so I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna go Cantlay.
Cantlay, okay. I'm gonna go with my first bet I made of the week, who I think wins this event, Sam Burns.
Sammy Burns.
So you're Cantlay, I'm Burns. Burns better win. If Burns wins, Cantlay will probably come in second. I won't make up any major ground. Probably is the way it'll play out. Before we go, though, I do want to say I've got 3 bets this week. I got Sam Burns, Tony Finau, both 35-1, Bethea 80-1. Then I did top 10s on top 10s. I think they were top 20s actually. Sorry, I did top 20 on Corey Connors, Tommy Fleetwood. You never don't bet Tommy Fleetwood on a Pete Dye course. Hideki at top 20, Sam Burns, and Tony Finau, because that's my thing now. I'll bet my favorites in top 20s and outright just to cover myself a little bit. So they're my bets. Jason, do you have any other bets going this week?
I do. So I have Scheffler to win plus Harmon top 10. I feel like I needed to hedge my fading Scheffler. So I have that at 20-1. I have Cantlay at 22-1. Burns, I actually added this one. Burns 28-1, and then Connors 45-1. I actually had bet Rory plus a Cantlay top 10, but since Rory withdrew, I switched that to Burns. So
gotcha. Steve, did you make any bets for this week?
Yeah, I have Cantlay and Finau outrights, and then Scheffler top 5, Harmon a top 10, and Sepp and Adam Scott as top 20s.
Nice.
Okay, awesome. I can't. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I can't believe I don't even have it written down here anywhere, but I did a top 20 parlay last week. It was a 3-leg top 20 parlay. 2 guys made the top 20. I don't even remember who they were. And then the only one that didn't hit the top 20 was Scottie Scheffler. And I'm still so bitter. Like, I had my best week I've had. Both my top 10s hit. I had my best lineup of all time. Everything worked perfectly. But I'm most bitter that a parlay with Scottie Scheffler finishing in the top 20 didn't hit. So I'm still a little bitter over that. So I might never bet Scottie Scheffler again just because of that one $5 bet that I made on a parlay, ruined Scottie Scheffler.
You guys heard it here first. Scottie Scheffler, dead to Phil. You guys heard it here first.
Until I put him in like 4 lineups.
He's never going to play him ever again.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about that. I'm a flip flopper, Jason. I flip flop very easily. You know that.
Carson Wentz
been there with me.
Carson
you
Wentz
flip flopped with me, many a time.
Carson Wentz is elite. Oh, wait, no, he's not.
All right. Anyway, with that being said, guys, we're gonna get ready and wrap this show up real quick. Though, I want you guys to do me a favor. If you're not already liking and subscribed and following Edge of Philly Sports, do it. There's a special live broadcast this weekend from the Irish Rover Station Bar from Philly Press Box Radio. Chet and the crew celebrating their 500th episode with 3 Flyers Hall of Fame legendary players and announcers and executives Joe Watson, Jim Jackson, and Lou Nolan will be live in Langhorne, PA with Chet and the company for 2 hours on Sunday. So if you're in the area, go check it out. Also, Chet will be making his Trend in the AM debut Friday with me to help promote this and talk about, I don't know, Steve, if you've noticed, but Chet and the Press Box Radio get legendary guests on every, like, I am jealous of nobody, but I'm jealous of them and the guests that they get on a regular basis. I don't know where they get these connections or how they get legend after legend every single week. But I guess when you do it for 10 years and over 500 episodes, I guess you get a reputation and these people come on your shows. So, guys, make sure you check out Chet and the gang and you're hitting the like. Follow Steve at Soldier Steve 247. Follow the vice president of the Phil fan club, Jason Sullivan at Jason. You didn't think I saw that. I saw that right from the get-go, just so you know. Jay Sully 2121. I am Phil Stiefel at Bearded Knowledge. Guys, thank you for another great episode this week, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow on Train the AM. Hit them straight, hit them long. Let's hit some outrights, guys. And finally, as always, it's bubbles up, guys.